So, welcome to the IBM BPM training. So, my name is Rahul Roy, and I'll be conducting the training on IBM Business Automation work. So, this is about my profile. So, before we start, just a bit of introduction about myself. So, like I said, my name is Rahul Roy, and I'm an IBM BPM consultant with almost like 10 years of relevant experience in IT industry. And I have been working with different organizations. Like I started my career working with Capgemini, followed by IBM, and now I'm working with TCS. I'm also an IBM BPM corporate trainer with almost like 4 years of experience, and I have trained people while working with IBM. And also apart from that, training institutes like Mind Magics, Mindbox, I have worked with them. These are my certifications like IBM Business Process Manager Application Developer 8.0 version, IBM Business Process Manager Application Developer 8.6 version, and IBM Business Automation Workflow Application Developer version 18.0. And I'm also certified in IBM Operational Decision Manager version 8.0. So this is all about me. Now let's move to today's agenda, where we are going to learn about these things like what is exactly a process, uh, introduction to BPM or business process management, overview of IBM business automation workflow, who are the leaders in the market today in BPM, introducing IBM process designer, a lab session where I will just show you a process and explain you what are components that we have used to design this process, IBM business automation workflow demand in market, and finally we'll also discuss about the architecture of IBM BP. So this demo is for those, yeah, definitely we are covering this demo for those who are already are aware of what is BPM, but also it is the focus is also on those who are new to BPM, who might not know what exactly is a process or a business process. So we'll start from here. We'll start from scratch. So what exactly is a process? A process is a series of steps and decisions involved in the way work is completed. So basically, whenever in our day-to-day life, every day we are following some of the other process, right? For example, say I want to place an order in my Amazon application for a product. So what we usually do, we open the application. That is the first step. Then we either use the filter criteria or we try to search directly with the product name at the top in the search bar. If we get the product, if we find that yes, we take some decisions that yes, if the product is getting delivered within 2 days, then we are good. Otherwise, we might not look for the product right now. Now, in case if the product is not available, then definitely I have to stop then and there, and maybe I will again look for the product maybe on the next year or the coming years. But if the product is available, if I'm happy with the product, I would place an order. I would add that in the cart. Then with my card details or with my net banking details or UPI details, I would go ahead and do a payment. And yes, I would also add my address details over there, which to find out whether the particular product is getting delivered in that location or not. After this has been validated, then I would go and I would do the payment using my card or my net banking or my UPI. And if I get a success message, which means that my payment is successful, and then I will get some notification from the application saying that your product which you have purchased is going to be delivered on this and this. So every time, so this is a very simple process that we follow. Again, say if I want to travel to office. So we do follow certain steps in the morning, right? We wake up in the morning, we brush our teeth, we go for a bath, then we have our breakfast, then we take certain decisions like whether we should take our vehicle or we should avail the public transport to go to office. So by taking certain steps and decisions, then we finally reach office. So each and every day we are following certain process, and most importantly, every process consists of some series of sequential steps and decisions, right? Why I'm using this term sequential? Because uh, when I'm following a process, I have to follow the sequential series of activities. I cannot skip any activity and go to the last one immediately. We cannot do that. I cannot just wake up in the morning and start traveling to office and then I brush my teeth every day. I cannot do that. So I have to maintain a sequence. So a process always maintains a sequence of steps and decisions. Right? So this is all about my process. I believe we are good over here. Moving on to the next slide. Coming to what exactly is a business process manager. Okay, I'll start off with an example and then we'll discuss on the slide. So every organization, every sector has their own business process. By sector, I mean, say there is a financial sector, a banking sector is there. We have insurance sector, pharmaceutical sectors, then we have automobile sectors. So many sectors are there. And each and every sector has their own set of business process. Let me take the example of a very simple day-to-day we have seen, that is, say, a loan application process. So, say I want to avail a loan from, say, XYZ Bank, say a personal loan. Now, this loan application process, which I am trying to submit, has to go through certain set of activities, right? Say, for example, the first activity is where I would upload my documents, or maybe I would enter some data in some user interface that we do usually nowadays. We fill up that data, and then after filling up data, what we do, we submit that application form. All the data and the documents that goes to the bank. Nowadays, we don't have to go travel to the bank and submit our documents. Everything is done through online. After we have submitted the data and documents, now comes the next activity, which is being taken care by the front desk team of the bank. They would verify whether all the data and the documents that are being submitted by us are proper or not. In case if any data or document is missing, they would again come back to the customer saying that this document or this data is missing. This is the second activity. After the front desk team has completed the verification of documents and data of the customer, then the next activity will start, that is the verification of the customer, which will be taken care by some verification agency of the bank. They would verify whether the customer really stays in that house or not, really he works in that office or not, whatever payslip he has submitted, whether he's really getting that salary or not. All this will be verified by the verification agency. If they find that all the response coming from different sources are positive, then he would proceed with the next activity. If he finds the response is negative, in that case, he would reject the application then and there. Say, we take the happy part. Say the verification agency has found that the response is positive. Now the next activity will start. What is the next activity? The next activity is sanction of loan by underwriter or credit manager. They would verify whatever data was submitted by the customer, whatever data submitted by the verification agency are positive or not. Apart from that, the CIBIL score or the credit report of the customer is also being analyzed. If it is found that yes, the customer uh, has got the ability to get the loan and pay the loan, then definitely he would go and approve the loan. Else he would reject. Whatever action the bank is taking, whatever action is being taken by the credit manager or the underwriter, the next activity will be triggered. The next activity is an email notification or an SMS notification that you get where it is mentioned that hey, your loan application has been approved or rejected and will be disbursed in the next 24 to 48 hours. Right? So all these are the different business activities. And whenever all these business activities are completed, I can say that my business process of loan application has also completed. So this is about a business process. Now this business process used to be a very manual process, maybe 25, 27 years ago. I can give an example of my father who had applied for a credit card uh, when he was working, maybe it's say 30, 35 years before, and he got that credit card after 30 days at that time. Because all these activities, which I just now spoke about, all these activities were used to be manual activities. For example, the first activity where the customer is submitting the data and documents. Before 30, 35 years, we can't even think of somebody would, add the details and everything on a user interface or on a web page on the internet. We didn't have that luxury. We had to go to the bank to submit all the documents. The second activity was verification of documents and data. The front desk team, I still remember, I believe we had to fill up an application form which was like 15, 16 pages sitting in the bank, or maybe we used to take it back home and we used to fill up the application form. And we had to submit that form along with certain documents to the bank, to the front desk team of the bank. The front desk team would then verify all the data. If they used to find some data is missing, they would call us up and they would again add those data over there. We had to manually add the signatures on each and every application form. After this has been done, after this particular activity got completed, after the verification, after the front desk team, they have done their validations, then the next activity would be verification of customer, right? So the verification agency person will go to the customer's house, and whatever response he would get, he would write it down in a notebook. Similarly, you would go to the office of the particular person or the customer, and then whatever verification responses you would get, you would edit right in the notebook manually. There was no application where he could record that data. Just think, if the diary got lost, then what would happen for the entire record that he was storing in that notebook, right? Now, after this is done, say everything came in a positive way, say the verification agency got a positive response, then the next activity would trigger. What is that activity? Underwriter or credit manager would finally sanction the loan amount. Now, in this case, now like today, what we have, I'll just give an example. Today, the CIBIL score that we get, right? So, CIBIL score previously, I mean, before 30 years, 35 years, if I have to get the CIBIL score of a customer, I had to write an email, a manual email to the CIBIL team to get the report of the customer. And nowadays, we actually don't have to do that because Sybil, they have exposed their, this particular service as a RESTful service. So I can definitely call that particular service from my BPM application, and I can get the response of the customer. I can get the Sybil report of the customer very easily, just within seconds. We don't have to wait anymore. After this is being done, after the responses are recorded, if it's a positive response, then someone from the bank would write an email to the customer manually saying that your loan application has been approved or rejected, and would also call the customer saying that your loan application has been approved or rejected. And if it is approved, then definitely this amount will get disbursed in the next 24 to 14 hours. So one thing, if you have noted, same activities which I talked about, which is happening today, used to occur even 30, 35 years back. The only difference is BPM. BPM has automated this business process, all the business process. If you go to, if you look for any bank like Bank of Baroda, I'm talking about domestic clients right now, say Bank of Baroda or ICICI Prudential, SBI. So all these different organizations, financial sectors, they have their own process. They have their own business process, and they are automating these business processes with the help of BPM. BPM is making the life much more easier for every organization. So that's what the first statement says here. Process of analyzing and improving business processes to create a more efficient and effective organization. So using BPM, an organization can analyze, not only analyze, but also can improve its business process. And what will happen with that, with the help of that, an organization's efficiency increases. Definitely. Nowadays, the bank can, close or can process a loan within 5 to 6 working days. So just understand that a bank used to process a loan 30 years back, maybe within 30 to 35 days. But now they are processing a loan amount for a customer within 5 to 6 working days. So definitely more and more applications are coming up. And the bank can easily process so many documents, so many applications at one go. So this is increasing the efficiency and definitely the profit is also increasing. The second point says it is focused more on repetitive and ongoing processes that follow a predictable pattern. So exactly what I said. 30 years back, uh, the business activities we spoke about, they are the same. And even now, we follow the same set of business activities. There is no change. Only that the business activities, most of them have become much more automated. And going ahead, more automation will be implemented. Okay? Maybe there will not be any front desk team. There will be some, robotic tasks which will just go and validate all the documents and data. If everything is fine, then the next activity will be done. Okay. So manual work is removed if you are implementing any business process using BPM. That's what the last statement says. BPM automates the manual business process of a level. Now we'll discuss about IBM Business Automation Workflow or IBM BPM, which we used to call it before. But over the last few years, IBM BPM has been renamed as IBM Business Automation Workflow. Most of you would still think, is there are there major differences between IBM BPM and IBM BAW? I would definitely discuss on this in our session, like what are the differences. But from the overall perspective, from technical perspective, the core thing has not changed. It is still the same, which was there in IBM BPM. And in IBM BAW also we get the same features. Yes, few features are there which has been added, but they are not dependent on any technical. For example, there is something for smart folders which has been added, which means if I'm creating my process, my services, my UI components, I can actually organize them in a smartphone, right? So this kind of thing is not a a big technical change, but there are differences. There are few things which has improved. We'll be definitely discussing that in our session. Coming to the first point that we can see here, IBM Business Automation Workflow is a key capability of IBM Cloud Pack. So IBM Cloud Pack is something which has evolved in the last few years. And to be honest, this why this was introduced. The other BPM leaders, which we'll be seeing next, they are causing, they are huge competitors in the market, especially Pega. If you see Pega, Pega has its own rule engine. Inside Pega, you can design a process. Inside Pega, you can generate reports. Okay. If you talk about the case management part, reporting part, everything you get inside Pega, right? Now, if I talk about only IBM BPM, okay, IBM BPM or IBM BAW does not have so many capabilities. Why? Because IBM BPM is always considered, which is a positive thing, that it is a loosely coupled technology, which means it doesn't have so much of things bundled together. If you bundle together so many things, what happens to the application or what happens to the application that you're making? It becomes tightly coupled. And whenever an application becomes tightly coupled, it becomes very difficult to integrate any external application or any external system with your application. So what IBM has done, they have created this product called IBM Cloud Pair, where they have added IBM Business Automation Workflow, which is the most important part of IBM Cloud Pair. Apart from that, there is IBM ODM, that is Operational Decision Manager, which is the rule engine. They have added IBM Integration Designer, which is used as a middleware. They have added IBM Case Manager, through which you can create the different case management strategies and you can create different kind of reports and dashboards. So many things has been added together under one platform called IBM Cloud Pack. And IBM BAW is one of the most important component of IBM Cloud. Now, IBM Cloud Pack is only available on cloud. It's not available on premise. So if somebody has to work on IBM Cloud Pack, he has to purchase the license at IBM Cloud. Now, IBM BAW, if I talk about like IBM BAW, then IBM BAW is available both on premise as well as on cloud. Okay. So on cloud, if you want to practice, definitely we have the trial version of IBM BW on cloud. So we need to register there, and we get a free trial of 30 days. Although within that, free trial you will not get the full version. So there are a lot of features which are not available. Especially there are certain components of IBM BW like say process admin, or we have the process inspector. So these components you cannot access through IBM BW on cloud. Right? And we also have premises. We can also install the IBM BW on premises, which I have. So in our sessions, we'll be following the on-premise license version, and this I'll also be providing this to the others, to everyone, so that they can also do the practice at their. Second point says it unites information processes and users to help you automate digital workflows on premises or on cloud. So exactly what I said. So IBM BPM or IBM BW is available both on premise as well as on cloud, depending on what you want to use. If you want to use on cloud, then definitely you go and purchase that. And yeah, if you want the larger version, so if you want cloud pack, so definitely you have to purchase a license of. Finally, create workflows that increase productivity, improve collaboration between teams, and gain new insight to resolve cases and drive better business outcomes. So exactly what we spoke about, that through IBM BPM, we can create different workflows, we can create different business processes for different organizations. And yes, it needs, we can definitely go and collaborate between different teams. So definitely we can follow the agile methodology over here, where we can, divide the entire application into small modules, and we can collaborate with multiple teams to work together, and we can complete our work and drive better business outcomes. So definitely, if you have a proper target, and if you have a proper, a proper vision of what exactly we are trying to implement, then definitely through that we can drive a better business, right? So, like I said, BPM itself, through BPM we can automate the business processes, through which the efficiency is definitely increasing for the organization, and also the profit margin is also going up. So through IBM BPM also we get all the flavors of BPM, whatever flavors we have in BPM, we get everything. And IBM BPM also has certain out-of-the-box reports and dashboards through which an organization can understand. Okay, so in the last 1 year, how many applications have been submitted, and how many has been completed on time, how many has been processed on time. If something has not been processed on time, then what is the reason? We get everything over there. We also get the out of the box audit trail, which helps which helps an organization to understand what are the steps that has been performed to process an application. Okay, I'm still talking about the loan application. So uh, this out of the box capabilities are there in IBM BPM or in IBM BW, which definitely helps an organization to drive a better business out, right? So moving to the next slide, these are the leaders in BPM market. So on a broader category, we have mainly two different types of tools. One is the license tool, and the other is the open source. And within the license tool, we have this three top, competitors in the market, which is IBM Business Automation Workflow, Pega, Appium. And in the open source market, we have Camera, Modelio, Personality. So IBM BPM and Pega. So they are there in the BPM market for quite a long time, and like I have been following this for almost like 9 years. So I can say that if you have gone through certain quadrants, like for example, the report which is being generated by Gartner. So if you go through that report, you will always see that since 2013, 2012, IBM, BPM, and Pega was always there at the top. They were always at the lowest point. Appian was also there, but in the middle, Appian, lost something and it went to the second quadrant. Then again, Appian has come up over the last few years because Appian had few issues on the UI part, but they have improved a lot on the UI. And Pega, I believe, Pega has all the features and capabilities of a BPM, and there are so many features within Pega, and most importantly, a low-code platform, or rather, no-code platform. Pega is considered as a no-code platform where you don't have to do any kind of coding. Appian and IBM BPM on the other side are low-code platform where you have to write, where you can have to write, a lot of code, but yes, some code definitely have to do it. And coming to the open source, I can talk about Camunda because I have worked in Camunda for 2, 3 RFPs I worked. Camunda is definitely from the open source market, although it is placed under open source tool, but Camunda also had its own enterprise application, enterprise tab. So I can definitely go and use the open source Camunda tool to understand how the things are happening. But in a real time, I have to go and purchase the license of Camunda. Okay, and Camunda has a huge market. Honestly, if you check the Europe region, especially Mexico, Spain, so all these places, all these countries, there are so many banks where they are using Camunda BPM to automate the business process. Introducing IBM Process Designer. Now, IBM Process Designer is going to be the main tool which we are going to use in our lab sessions. So mostly we'll have lab sessions. We'll be discussing about what exactly we have in the lab sessions right at the end. But yes, IBM Process Designer, is the main component which we are going to use in our lab sessions because our training, it focuses, it is the prime focus of the training is, to do the hands-on, to understand how each and every component can be used and can be utilized while developing a solution for a customer, right? So there are so many components out there in IBM BPM. So we not only have a process, we have activities, different types of activities out there. We have different types of decisioning components out there. There are different event components out there. Service flows are there. So we have different services like Ajax services, integration services, general system services. So everything is available in your process design. So any seamless process design or orchestration can be done through IBM Process Designer. And it is the main authoring tool through which we can create all these artifacts and also we can test them over there. Okay. So the process designer is the primary modeling and designing tool in IBM Business Process Manager. It is an editor that you access in a browser to model, implement, and inspect business processes. Now, before we discuss about the second statement, I would just like to give a brief, an overview about process designer. Process designer are actually there of two types. So one is the traditional desktop process designer, which we are using since version 6.0, 6.5, and it is still there. Desktop process designer is still there. And what exactly is a desktop process designer? I tell you. So whenever we are installing this IBM BW product in our system or anywhere in the system, so we get after installing this product, we need to download the desktop process designer from a particular component. When we're talking about the component right at the end, we have a slide on the architecture. So from that component, we have to download the desktop designer, and again we need to install the desktop designer. Okay. So to remove this overhead, web-based process designer was introduced. Okay. Web-based process designer doesn't need any installation. after you have installed the IBM BPM or IBM BAW product in your system or in some remote system, then definitely after your server is up, then definitely you can go and access the same process applications and everything from the web-based process design. There are other reasons also why the web-based process designer was introduced. Okay, so we'll be covering that in our sessions. But yes, we have two types of designers presently. One is a desktop process designer, and the other is a web-based process designer. And if I talk about the current flow of the market, then most of the applications they are being migrated to the web-based designer. Definitely can understand that a desktop designer has a lot of performance issues. Okay, if I want to create a user interface, then the responsiveness that we get it is not achieved if I'm using a desktop designer to design a user interface. But in case of a web-based process designer, I can actually get a very proper and responsive user interface because I'm doing my development web on the browser. So that is the reason, and also obviously to make the product very lightweight. That is the reason this has been done. So most of the projects they are getting migrated to the web-based version, and already IBM they have already declared the desktop process designer as deprecated. I will show you that as well. So if you log into one component, it will show you that this desktop designer has been deprecated. So maybe in the coming versions, desktop designer will not be there. Coming to the last point, the traditional desktop designer is deprecated. Yeah, then recently what we spoke about. So the desktop designer is deprecated, but yes, I will still say there are still some projects which are still using the desktop designer. So that is what the IBM is looking for. So they will wait for another few years, and then finally they will completely deprecate the desktop design. So this is a kind of process, a very simple process that has been designed in the process designer. We can first see there is something called start right at the beginning, and then we see something called end right at the end over here. So the start will start the process, and the end event will end the process. We call them the start event and the end event respectively. You see here, these are the different activities or tasks that has been added in the process. So the first one is review, loan, and collect information. Uh, After the loan and information is collected, then some decision is being made over here. And depending on the outcome of the decision, so if the decision is say positive, then approval will be notified, and if the decision is negative, then denial will be notified to the customer. So this is a very simple process, although we will, I'll explain each and every component whenever we will have our first lab session. Our first lab session, we will see how a process can be designed and what are the different components that we can add in the process. Okay. Here, one more thing is that you see here loan manager and there is customer representative. So basically these are called lanes in a process, and each lane can consist of certain activities which are being managed only by this team. Okay. So for example, review, loan and collect information. This activity will be performed by the loan manager. That is the reason why this activity has been placed in this way. Whereas notify approval and notify denial, these two activities have been added in the customer representative layer, so that these two activities can be managed only by this team, customer representative, right? So we'll discuss more on this in our lab sessions. Demand in market. So IBM BAW has huge demand in market. To be honest, I can see like in Europe, in US, there are a lot of organizations where, especially the banking sector, they want to use IBM BPM because I just say IBM BPM or IBM BAW is a loosely coupled product. Uh, Integrations are seamless. It's very easy to integrate any application without understanding or without the knowledge of any connectors. Okay, we don't have connectors. There are many BPM technologies like Pega. I believe we have adapters over there, connectors also. Since it's a low code platform, no code platform, that is the reason we have more of adapters and connectors. But in case of IBM BAW, we don't have any adapters or connectors, but definitely we have services which is used to integrate different applications and systems. And talking about the cost, yes, definitely it's a low cost tool. If you compare the pricing of Pega and IBM BPM or IBM BW, Pega is very, very expensive. I can talk about there are so many products which has moved from Pega to IBM BPM just because of the cost. When I worked on a project while working in Capgemini, it was an Italy-based bank, Intesa. So they had implemented the entire solution in Pega, and then they wanted to, renew the license after certain years. They found the license cost is huge, and then it was moved to IBM, IBM BPM and ODM. So I had worked on that project, and then we had to work on creating the same solution in IBM BPM, and for business we have implemented through IBM ODM. So there are several examples of there. But yes, definitely Pega has also a huge market. I would not deny that. Pega also has a huge market in the industry. Similarly, IBM BAW or IBM Beacon is also having the same, set of capabilities because now, like we discussed, that cloud tech has come. So you get all the capabilities and features inside cloud tech. So if some customer doesn't want, on-premise, if they want cloud, then we also have the same on cloud. It was needed before. IBM BW went on cloud maybe 2, 3 years, but before that it was never on cloud. It's always on premise. Pega, on the other hand, I believe it had gone on cloud much before. So these factors are there, and one of the most important and a very very famous parameter is that any idea, you get a lot of growth from IBM product. Okay, so if your product is not working properly, if there is any kind of issue, say I'm a customer, I'm a client, and I purchase the license of IBM Vivo. So I will get a proper extensive support from the product. Whenever I find there is any issue, I can directly go and check with the IBM product by raising certain tickets. So this is definitely these are the reasons for which IBM BW nowadays is considered as a huge competitor for Pega as well as Appian. And also, like I said, that in the previous slide also I've showed that yes, IBM BW is definitely one of the top three leaders. It comes under one of the top three leaders in the BPM market. If you go and check the Gartner Quadrant over the last few years reports, you will see that IBM BPM has always been in the biggest one. Now we come to the architecture of IBM BPM, IBM BW. So this is more or less the diagram of the architectural diagram of IBM BPM. And we'll start with the native part, workflow center. You see there is something called workflow center over here, which says the centralized process governance of BPM repository. So a workflow center consists of several process applications and toolkits. And what is exactly a process application and toolkit? Let me explain. Process application is basically is a container inside which we create our artifacts like process, services, UI components, variables, business objects. All these are created inside process application. If you guys are aware of Java, in Java, what we usually do, we first create a project, right? And after we create a project, then we start creating the different, artifacts inside that project. We write our code, we create the variables, and all those things we do after we create the project. So my first step is creating a project, and then only proceed with other development. Similarly, in IBM BPM also, the first is creating a process application, and after that only we move ahead by creating the different applications. I also spoke about something called toolkit. Yes, so kits are also available inside the workflow center. So toolkit is nothing but a library, okay, So it is very similar again to a library in Java. So I can keep certain reusable components inside a toolkit so that I can refer those components in a process application. So workflow center is nothing but is a kind of repository which consists of all the set of process applications and tools. Now we will discuss about process designer. I believe we already discussed about this. So process designer is used to create and test process applications. So like I said, if I'm a developer, then all my development effort and authoring I need to do in this particular tool or process designer. And definitely not only I can create it, I can create my artifact, but also I can test these artifacts inside my process design. Workflow Center Console. So Workflow Center Console is used to manage the process applications and tools. So basically, Workflow Center is nothing but the console through which we can view the Workflow Center artifacts. So Workflow Center consists of the different process applications and toolkits, like I said. And yes, something which I was about to say, which I said that I will let you know. One thing that is from where we can download the desktop process design. So this is the component from where we can download the desktop process design. Okay. So if I log into my workflow center of development environment, then definitely I will get the link of downloading the desktop process design. So our first session that we are going to have will start off with the workflow center, and then we proceed with designing the process and everything with process design. That is the first session of our training. Now, uh, this is all about my workflow center. Now we come to the workflow center I said it consists of process applications and toolkits. Now we come to process admin console. Okay. Now before I move to process admin console, we see one more component here which says workflow server, a very important component, and like you can see is a runtime environment of IBM BPM or IBM BAW. Without this runtime environment, my application cannot run. I cannot trigger any process. Even I cannot test my applications. Forget about testing. I cannot even do my develop if my workflow server is down. So it's a very important component of IBM BPM, and definitely this workflow server can be managed on various components. One of the component is process admin console. So through process admin console, I can find out, the health of my workflow server, whether it is fine or not. In case if I find that if there is some slowness, all these things can be identified from the process admin console, and necessary housekeeping activities or steps can be taken by the infra team or by the admin team. So process admin console, by the name, you can understand that this particular component is solely managed or driven by the admin or the infrastructure team. Okay. Now, but we do cover this process admin console also in our session. The reason being, process admin console also consists of a lot of features which we should know as a developer. There is something called process monitor. Okay. Say my project or my application has gone live, and the customer comes to me and tells me that, "Hey, your application is working very slowly in production." Okay. The customers and the end users, they are complaining about the slowness. So could you please check? So through process monitor, I can check why my process, it's taking us so much of time to complete. Okay. Maybe there is some activity within the process. There is some step within the process which is taking a lot of time. All these steps, like which step in your process is taking a lot of time. Okay. You can uh, drill down into that. You can go inside that step and you can see which component is causing a lot of time. So as a developer, it's a very useful thing. From the optimization point of view, I can find out which service or which process is taking a lot of time. And accordingly, as a developer, I can take some decision and I can accordingly optimize my flow. Okay. So process admin console has a lot of features. This is just one feature I spoke about. So first of all, whatever components you are seeing on the screen, everything will be covered. Okay. So I don't worry. I'm just trying to give you some overview. right now about this architecture. But whatever components you can see on the screen, we are going to cover each and every component in our session. Process portal. The next component is process portal. Process portal is again a very important component and one of the key flavor of BPM technology. If you are working with Pega, if you're working with Appium, if you're working with Oracle BPM, most of the licensed BPM tools they have this component called process portal. Maybe the name is different, but process portal is where you can manage your task list. Say if I am a developer, or say if I am a say if I am a business user. Say for example, like let me give an example of a very simple process. Say I am an employee of an organization and I want to go for a leave. So I apply leave, and whenever I apply leave, a task gets created and is submitted for the manager's approval. The manager would log into the process portal with his or her own credentials and would then open the task which has all the leave details submitted by me. He would see all those details and then accordingly will take some decision. So that task will have an approve and reject button, and depending on the kind of leave that I've taken, if everything is fine, then in that case the manager would approve my leave details. So process portal is a place through which is a portal through which an end user can interact with the user interface. They can participate in the process, and there are other features also. Okay, for example, I was talking about some dashboards, right? Some performance dashboards and reports. So all these things can be, you can find everything in the process portal. Okay, like team performance report, process performance report. All these things are visible in the process portal. Last but not the least, we have the WebSphere application server admin console. So this component, is where you can manage the runtime environment directly. So if you want to start the server or stop the server, I can do it from the WAS admin console. And to be honest, this component is solely for the admin team. If you are taking a training on IBM BPM admin, then VAS admin console or the full application server admin console is going to be the main component for you, which you need to understand. There are hundreds of features are there in the VAS admin console, but yes, we are going to cover few of them. For example, we have a database session where I will show you not only how to implement some database scenarios in BPM application, but also I'll show you how to integrate. I mean, how I can create a data source, how I can integrate an external database with my BPM application. So everything is being managed inside the VAS admin console. So we would be discussing on that as well. And also I'll show you how to start stopping a server, restart a server. All these things are done using the VAS admin console, right? So this was all about the architecture, and I believe this was the last slide. So before closing here, I would just add few more points. So the training can be done in the morning or it can be done at night. So depending on the availability of the participant as well as mine. And regarding the training, nearly like 1 to 1.5 hour of training is being done every day, like business days, like Monday to Friday, and almost like 32 hours of training is done. You can understand why the span is long, because we cover everything in our training, in our course. Okay? So like designing a process, I will sharing the course curriculum anyways, but like designing process, implementing all the different types of activities and service flows, database integrations, gateways, all everything, whatever we have in IBM BAW, we cover everything in our session. Okay. So definitely, if you're interested with the demo, I will share the course curriculum. You can have a look, and then you can discuss. And yes, topics are flexible. I mean, if you find that some topic you want to add by yourself, definitely you can add. We can discuss on that as well. Coming to the takeaways from this course, definitely you get the recorded sessions, whatever recordings we are going through today. So definitely we'll be getting the recordings. We'll be getting documents and study materials. Our course is, managed in a way that if you want to seek for the certification, like for example, right now, IBM Business Automation Workflow version 18.0 certifications are available. So if you want to seek for that, this course will help you to clear that certification. I would definitely help you with the sample questions and doubts at the end of our session. But the way this session is being conducted, we covered uh, the topics very well, which has got more focus on the certifications. And definitely we go by the industry standard as well, like all the best practices and knowledge on each and every session. Not only how to implement the solution, but also while implementing a solution, we implement very small things, right? We implement simple modules. So how, through best practice, we can implement them and how we can deliver a very proper and, a quality solution to the customer. We'll be discussing on that as well. And apart from that, the most important part is the practice part, where the student needs to do some practice. The participant needs to do some practice. So for that, I will be sharing the IBM Business Automation Workflow 18.0 license tool. It's not a it's an on-premise tool, and it's a full version tool. It's a license tool. It's not a trial version, so you can install that. I will help you with the installation, and definitely you can practice all or whatever sessions we are going to, you can practice it. While taking the training, we will be implementing a use case, and while implementing the use case, so basically the entire session is being divided into two halves. Okay, first 50% is where we start off with understanding the basics, and after you complete the first 50%, a use case will be given to you. That use case you have to implement at your end, and you have to demo me, and we'll find it out whether everything is proper or not. After that, we start off with the advanced sessions, like we have events, more complex topics will come. Events is there, exception handling, database integrations, all external integrations, all whatever integrations can be done while we using, we cover everything in our session. Java integration, database integration, okay, any kind of external implementation, everything we are covering in our sessions. Then once you complete the last 50%, then again a use case will be provided, which will cover everything, whatever we have done. Okay. So almost we covered three use cases in our 30 to 35 hours of course. So these are the key takeaways. Definitely, if you have any questions, you can drop a mail to your mail ID. I'll be sharing this recording to the same mail ID. You can drop a mail to the group, and accordingly we can discuss on the course. Thank you very much. Have a very good day and hope to see you soon. Thank you.